Well, this here is the Mahindra XUV700, and this car will remind you of James Bond, who is the, of course, original 007. And the reason why it will remind you of James Bond is because just like James Bond, this car also looks very sophisticated, very suave, very polished, and very muscular from the outside. But it has the ability to go anywhere like James Bond. You can take it on the hills, you can take it off-roading, you can drive it in the city. So it is a car which will drive you around any place you go, just like James Bond, and do it in huge style and a lot of swag factor. Now let's quickly give you a walk around of this car, and then we'll take you inside. Now if you have a look at this car, this is of course the top of the line version of the car. The grille of the car is in black and elements of silver, unlike the body color. So you also get this new 3D badge, the logo, the new Mahindra logo, and Mahindra say that they've got 1M for the future, 1M of the 75 years of legacy, and this open space is for the opportunities that lay ahead of them. When you have a look at the headlamps, you get the same C-type element which you get on the XUV300 and the 500, and it's the same design which Mahindra is now following with all their cars. Lots of cuts and creases all across. The side angle will remind you completely of the earlier version of the 500, so it's the same kind of design, same kind of style. Very cool feature on this car is of course the flush door handles, and well, they pop out. We don't have the keys to this car right now, but they pop out when you come close to it with your car keys in your pocket, so that's a very fancy touch. Other than that, it's exactly like the earlier version of the XUV500. From the side angle, there's a little bit of a kink over here, a little muscle going on, so it looks very stylish and has a good stance. On the back, again, you get nice and stylish lamps. But as I just said, just like the side, there's a lot of styling going on, lots of cuts, lots of creases, lots of styling elements, and you know, it looks like it has been worked upon. So Mahindra has worked hard to give you a nice and stylish car. Overall, I like this color of the car. What do you think of the looks? You can let me know in the comment section below. But before I forget, let me just take you quickly onto the side of the car and show you this little badge which says Adrionics or Adronics. This basically means that this car has a lot of connected car apps, a lot of features, a lot of technology, and Adronics is the name that Mahindra is giving to all of them. As you might be aware by now, is the online expert in terms of spare parts. If you want a spare part for your vehicle, they have it in their list. They have the most extensive spare parts catalog, right from the most affordable small car to the top of the line luxury car, you name the car, and they have the spare parts for it. And the best point is that they have the spare parts from a host of different component makers and different price segments for the same spare part. So if you want to buy a cheaper part from a different maker or a more expensive part from a different component maker, they have the option for you. Well, I'm inside the cabin now of the XUV700. It's not the 700, it's the 700. Now, in terms of the sheer quality levels, it is quite good and improved from the earlier version. But even then, I think that there's some room for improvement because these switches still have a little bit of flimsiness about themselves for the AC. And these ones are exactly the same in terms of looks from the earlier version of the car. Now, why has Mahindra done this? I really don't know, but the quality could have been better. It's not got that plush feeling of the Hyundai Creta or the Alcazar even now, but other than that, in terms of features, it's a very rich cabin to be in. You of course get a 10 screen here for the infotainment. It gets Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and 60 connected apps. Yes, it gets 60 connected apps, and you get a host of apps over here. You get the Zomato app, you get a lot of other apps as well, which really makes it a connected car. And you also get the Alexa voice enabled commands inside the car without your phone. It's embedded inside the system over here, so you don't need your phone to connect your car with Alexa. The digital dials also look very sharp and very premium. New logo of course over here. And the other equipment in this car, well, it includes auto hold function, it includes this brake, of course, is now a button. You don't get a lever for the handbrake, and automatic climate control, and a total of 7 airbags, different driving modes. Also, you get ADAS system inside this car with radar as well as camera. Now, the ADAS is additional driving advanced system for the safety of the driver. So, ADAS really helps you in terms of the lane departure, in terms of blind assistance. A lot of help it gives you when you're driving this car on the road, especially on the highway. So, it's a very safe car in that sense as well. And of course, you get a couple of beverage holders over here. wireless charging for mobile phone over here. And of course, the seats also are electrically adjustable because it's a premium car, so seats have to be electrically adjustable. And the button for them is over here on the driver's door panel and not on the seat itself. Now, of course, Mahindra's taken this from Mercedes, who always have it over here. So that's one feature they've copied from Mercedes. Overall, what do I think of the car? Well, it has a nice ambience, good quality, but overall the plastic quality could have slightly been better to compete with the likes of the Hyundai, and even the Tata Safari feels like it is better bolted together. Overall though, no complaints about the features list on the XUV700. Let's jump in the back seat and see how good that really is. Well, so now I'm in the second row of the XUV700 seats, and as always, I was just at the front seat for my height and drawing position. My height for reference is 5'10", in case you've just forgotten. So if your chauffeur is also about 5'10", 5'11", maybe even 6, and you're also roughly the same height, you'll be quite okay in these seats. Now, in terms of pure isolation, it's a good place to be, but if you compare it with other cars in this segment, especially with the Safari, I think the Safari offers you more space. It's at par with the Hyundai Alcazar. It's more or less the same, but I think the Safari has the advantage over both these cars. Now, this is not a comparison today, but still, since that car is also out there for competition, we'll have to talk about those things as well. The seat comfort is quite good. Overall, backrest angle is good, and you also get good support for your under thighs. And what's best about this car is that the floor panel, the floorboard, is almost flat. So if you have an occupant here in the middle, he'll have plenty of place to stretch his feet. Also, nice and large windows, which makes this cabin feel nice and airy, and a huge panoramic sunroof, which when it opens up, it does add to the feeling of sitting inside a nice and airy cabin. And of course, if you don't want to sit with 3 and only 2, you also get a couple of beverage holders over here. And just before I end, I'll tell you that the ISOFIX points also for the child seat are nicely located, so you can easily find them and keep your child safe and comfortable. Well, so quickly, let's show you the boot of the XUV700. Now, in terms of the overall space, as you can see with all the rows up, the last two seats rather up, there's very little space, and of course you can adjust the backrest angle a little bit. You can make it a little more upright, and even then I think only a couple of bags will fit in. So it's not really the ideal car when your mother-in-law is coming in, because her bags won't fit in, because mother-in-laws normally come for at least 2 weeks, and maybe just 5 or 6 days. That's the amount of luggage this car will be able to take. But of course, if you decide to buy the 5-seat version and store away these seats, then you get massive loading capacity, huge capacity, and really one of the biggest boots on offer. So I think people who are buying the 5-seat version will be very happy, and people who are buying the 7-seat version, well, they'll mostly be keeping 2 of these seats hidden away. Now, I won't be jumping in the seats. I'll show some visuals of these seats to you, because they don't really have the greatest amount of space in terms of legroom or headroom. But of course, I will be showing them to you in visuals, and you can make out your mind for yourself. For the benefit though of people who want to buy the 7-seat version, you get a 12-volt charging point at the back, and you also get AC vents, which can be controlled through this regulator for the airspeed as well. So it's a decent place to be in, but too tight for someone who's about 5'10" or 5'11" like me. 5-6 people will be quite okay in the last row. Now let's jump in the front row and drive this car around and tell you how it is to drive. Well, so here I'm driving the diesel version of the XUV700. Now you also can choose petrol, but today we've only got the diesel with us. We've not got the petrol. We've only got the manual today. There's also an automatic on offer, but we're only driving the manual. First of all, let me get the negative bit out of the way. The negative bit is that this engine does suffer from a little bit of clatter, a little bit of noise when you rev it hard, and also there's a little bit of vibration which does enter the gearbox and the clutch pedal at certain RPMs. Not always, but certain RPMs you can feel the clutch as well as the gearbox with those vibrations on it. So that's something which is a bit of a negative. It's not the class leader in terms of ultimate refinement. It is a class leader in terms of the overall power output, but not in terms of the ultimate refinement. I think the Hyundai Creta as well as the Alcazar still have the advantage in both two areas. Now with that out of the way, let's talk about the performance of this car, because the performance really is brilliant, and as I said, this is the most powerful car in the segment. 185 bhp on offer. It's more powerful than both its main rivals, the Harrier Safari or the Alcazar Creta. So it's more powerful than both those cars, and it does show when you really push it on the highway. You can feel that little bit of extra power that this car has, and it has the edge in terms of outright power delivery. On the other positive side, the suspension setup is quite nice. It does soak in the bumps, and even the sharpest of sharp crevices hardly make their presence felt inside the cabin. So that's something which buyers will truly appreciate, and that's something which a lot of people who drive on long distance journeys will like. The gearbox, the manual that we've driven today, is nice to operate. It's a big improvement over the earlier version of the car, a huge improvement over that gearbox, and it just is nice and slick to operate. It's still got to use a heavy hand to shift, but even then you can say that in terms of the usage pattern, it is quite decent and something that most buyers will appreciate over the previous version. The clutch action though is okay. It's nothing earth shattering. I think it's at par with the Safari and the Harrier's clutch. So in terms of the weight, there is certain weight which goes into it, and it is a heavy clutch, not a very light clutch, but because it is a 2.2, it's a big engine, I think you can easily forgive it for having a heavy clutch. Other than that, what do I like about this car? Well, the visibility is excellent. You get excellent view from here because you can see the edge of the bonnet. So if you're a new driver, or maybe you've just bought your first big SUV, you've said, I don't want a compact SUV, I want a big SUV, then you've got a 4.7 meters in length SUV. You can see the edges of this car because the rear mirrors are good, plenty of kit to show you with the 360 bird's eye view, and of course this one also is nice and large. The steering wheel feedback, well, it is communicative, but it has a certain artificial feel to itself, and it's not very light. It's a heavy steering wheel. It's not an overtly light steering wheel, especially on the diesel version that I'm driving at the moment. So I won't say that it's a very light steering wheel, but yes, it does feel a little artificial in terms of the usage pattern. But it's okay, nothing really to complain about, except that maybe if it was a little lighter, then it would have been a little nicer to drive if you were someone who drives a lot within city limits. Ride comfort though is very good both on the highway and within the city, and overall the kind of scoring that I would give this car is 8 out of 10. The Creta slash the Alcazar still have the advantage because they have a very refined engine, and that engine just seems to work very well with the entire package. It feels refined, it feels peppy. This one, it's not as refined, but yes, it is powerful. But to each his own. Some people prefer the refinement and smoothness of the Creta and the Alcazar, but some of you might say, well, I'd rather prefer a little more gruffness, but I want an engine which offers me a little more power because I drive a lot on the highways. So if you're someone who drives a lot on the highways, high distance journeys, etc., definitely the car to go for. But yes, if you are someone who is mostly driving within city limits, then the Creta and the Alcazar are much easier to drive and definitely feel lighter on their feet as well, and agility wise also they feel a little more agile than this car. Anyways guys, let's wrap this up and give you a nice summary report. Well, so overall, the XUV700 might not have the ultimate sophistication or the refinement that its rivals have to offer, but if you want a no-nonsense, powerful and punchy diesel engine on your SUV, and you want an SUV which stands out from a crowd and has the best in terms of the features list as well as connected apps, then this is a car you should definitely keep in your shortlist. So as I just said, not as sophisticated or as refined as its rivals, but when it comes to pure ruggedness and a tough build, this is a car which you should keep in your shortlist, and also has one of the best features list on offer. So bye for now, and thanks so much for watching.